Hello, in this video I'll show you how you can use Symmetry to create new shapes and designs. So here I'm just doing my daily warm-up. You can see how I got to this result here. Pretty much starting with a basic plane, edit poly, some basic modeling here, Symmetry, edit poly, adding more detail, and just experimenting with these kinds of shapes right here to give this kind of result. And then Symmetry and edit poly for the details. And of course a Symmetry modifier on the x-axis to get the other side as well. So now if I add another Symmetry modifier and make this z-axis, you can see I get this result right here, which already gives me a pretty interesting shape to work with. So you can see it's definitely a lot more dynamic and varied than this shape right here. So you can see with the Symmetry modifier, I pretty much cut away all of this geometry here in the bottom. I'm left with this detail right here. So if I further move this on the z-axis, I get even more shapes. So if I move this down a little bit, I get this interesting shape right here. I can also move the gizmos of using the slider right here. You can see how we go from this to this, and this right here. You can see I get lots of interesting designs just by adding a simple Symmetry modifier. And so usually when you're doing your warm-up modeling, you can end up throwing away what you modeled here, but you can also just do a little bit of extra work and reuse this in the future design. So for example, I may decide that I like this one right here, so I'll just hold Shift, make a copy of that. And I can also move it even further. I like this design where there is this circular detail, then we have this kind of geometry on top of it, almost protecting it, for example. And I also like this design right here. So I can also make a copy of this. I can further move this and get more designs. So let's say I also like this right here. I just like this shape. So I'll also make a clone of this. And I can move even further. I will just reapply Symmetry, so get it in the same position it was previously, like so. I can also make a copy of this right here. So now that I've made these clones, I can further refine them. So for example, right here, I'll just apply edit poly on top of Symmetry. And you can see here the geometry is very thin here. So I may need to fix this up a little bit. So what I can do here is just, let's say, select these edges. And I'll just delete the left half. And now I can apply, let's say, chamfer. Now add some thickness right here. First I'll just hold Control and convert it to vertex. And just kind of scale this. Just kind of move this here. So sometimes Symmetry can produce some very rough results here. So you may want to go in here and just fix this up. So sometimes when you use modifiers like Symmetry or use Boolean, you get these kind of strange results. And when you first do it, you're not sure what's happening here, how to fix these. But after some experience, you understand how topology works here and how this is being caused. You understand that if you just connect these two vertices, you get rid of that bad effect. So now that I've got this, I can just select these edges, and use symmetry on the z-axis here to straighten this out. So pretty much gone from this right here to a much better result right here. Now just click here and just copy the symmetry modifier. So I would just reapply it on top of here, just to make sure I have the same result right here. Now I've got this line right here indicating where the z-symmetry is taking place. So I can also fix up these areas right here. I'll just turn off Turbo Smooth for now. There we are. So we want this to be a separate object here and give this further thickness, so I'll just select these polygons. Then I'll just detach this and just apply that symmetry modifier here as well. And I can just select all the vertices here and scale this on the z-axis, give this more thickness here. And I'll just isolate this and fix this up further. I'll just select these edges, and here under loops you've got loop tools, which I already have open right here, and I can use straight. Just straighten this out right here and just weld and remove. I can also clear the smoothing groups, because with smoothing groups we get this strange shading right here sometimes, which can interfere with your reading of the topology with the geometry, so you can just clear that. And now it's much easier to see what's happening here. And I can just select all these vertices and weld. Just get rid of any extra vertices here. You can see we'll go from 52 to 51, which can cause some bad deformation. I can also just double click here to select this loop and remove this as well. Remember to hold Control as you click on remove to remove the vertices as well. And here you can either remove the edges or simply target weld this vertex. So you can see now we get this much cleaner topology right here. I'll also just go into the border level, select this, go back to edge level, deselect these edges here, and bridge. And just cap this, and symmetry and edit poly. And once again, Control-A to select the vertices and weld. As you can see, we'll go from 50 to 49, so there was an extra vertex in there somewhere. These are all just good practices to eliminate any bad topology or any extra vertices. Some common problems when you're modeling. So I really like this shape right here, how it goes from being thicker here to more thin here. I can also just apply FFD and further push this shape. For example, I may want to have some sort of tubing running through here. So what I can do is just select these polygons and perhaps use regularizer just to make this round here, and then make planar. Maybe inset here. Now we've got this result right here. So it's still a little rough here. You can see we have some triangles here that we may want to eventually get rid of. We can see how we're just further building and experimenting with the forms and designs here of this object. So I can decide to get rid of this triangle just by cutting with vertex snap on, and then just removing. And just pasting that symmetry modifier back here. And here I can decide, for example, that I want a panel line going through here. So I'll just make a cut here. And then press 2 to switch to the edge level. And after you make a cut, you can see the edges are automatically selected. So now I can just apply extrude. You can see we get this bad result right here because we need to just get rid of this n-gon by connecting right here. And now we should get a much better result here. And now I've got this quick panel line right here. In this case, I'm just using Turbo Smooth. Later on, I can switch over to Open Subdiv. I like to use Turbo Smooth in the beginning stages, so I can just ring and connect. So we get this nice panel line going through here. Here, for example, I can select these vertices, constrain to edge, just move right here. Then select all the vertices here and weld, and decrease the weld threshold to make sure that we don't weld too much. And then remove this edge here. And now I can just, let's say, use splines. Just create this tubing going around here. I can increase the thickness here. I can just select all the vertices and make this smooth here. Or I can just make them Bezier, so I can have greater control of the shape right here. And give this a dark gray material. And now I just apply symmetry. But as you can see, symmetry takes place right here because this is the object's pivot. So I can go into Mirror, Alt-A, click here, and there we go. Click on this object, and now symmetry is taking place right here. And give this a black object color as well. So now we've got this kind of tubing going through here. So you can see how you can quickly just attach objects, give them a new purpose, and kind of incorporate them all together here. We can even try combining multiple objects together. So let's say, for example, I select another object here. Actually, let's go back to this object, see what we can do with this. Let's apply another symmetry modifier here. And just rotate it. And then just apply another symmetry modifier here. So you can use Symmetry to come up with new design inspirations. For example, here I may decide I like this design right here, or have the shape going inwards and forming this circular detail right here. So even if you don't use this exact same geometry, you can still use this as inspiration for various new design ideas. And here, just copy the symmetry modifier, go into Edit Poly, and here, for example, I may want this just to continue here. So I'll just isolate this, just go into the front viewport, and just delete the bottom half here. I can delete this half right here as well. And now I can just weld right here and select these edges. And extrude right here. I'll just activate snaps and then make sure that the axis constraint is on. Default hotkey Alt D. Make sure the y-axis is active and just snap right here. And I'll just weld right here. And now paste the symmetry modifier back here. I may have to flip it or turn flip off here. And then one more symmetry modifier to get the other side as well. Now we've got this result right here. And another symmetry modifier as well. Although I may have to adjust it. So for example, I'll just activate snaps and snap this to this vertex right here. So now I've got this result right here. And one more thing you may want to do here is once you got the shape you like here, remember that you may want to adjust the pivot as well. So for example, right now if I apply symmetry and Z symmetry, you can see that the symmetry is occurring right here because of this original pivot position right here. So every time you apply symmetry, you have to go in here and adjust it. So what you can do instead is once you got this shape that you like, you can go into hierarchy, effect pivot only, and center the object. So now if I apply symmetry, no matter which one I use, X, Y, or Z is going to take place right here in the center because we've modified the pivot.